Hello, everybody. Oh, look at that. We're nice and hot. No funny noises going on. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. The title of the show tonight. Well, let me just start off by first saying that my name is Stephen D. Kelley, and this is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. And it's Thursday night, and you're listening to Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. And of course, if you're not listening live, you're listening via YouTube. But we actually have a interesting show tonight. I probably won't run out of things to say. I want to welcome you all here. But the title of the show tonight is Bring Me the Head of Somerset Belanoff. Now, I wanted to call the show Somerset Belanoff, Kill That Bitch, or Kill This Bitch, Someone Kill This Bitch, something like that. But we decided that wasn't politically correct, and I'd probably get Facebook jail, and I might alienate some women that would not understand and want to defend their sister from the mean Stephen who's saying, this bitch needs to die. Well, let me just put it this way. I didn't know who this person was until just recently. The name came up to me, and people asked me, what do we think about this Somerset Belanoff bitch? I added the bitch for emphasis. Anyway, I had to look her up and figure out who she was, what she was all about. And right away I thought, okay, here we have another Maria Abramonoff wannabe. But then I did a little more research and find out, there's something significant going on here. Well, let me just say this, is that as a Jedi Master, I'm very pleased to share with you that I believe that we have found a target worthy of our attention who truly claims to be the most scary, evil, wicked, powerful person on earth. This person claims to be of the highest level royalty. We'll go into her lineage, but let's just say she's like a sister or something, or cousin to the queen, but she claims to be the queen of the Illuminati. And she's actually so high up there on the totem pole when it comes to these demons that she orders the execution of these people when they get out of line and they betray her. And so in other words, as I'll demonstrate tonight, she controls it all, and I don't think I will be able to find another human that deserves a little attention more than this one. And I don't think I could find another human that could be considered as scary as this particular person. I mean, she scares Vladimir Putin. That should tell you something. So this is pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about it. Now, a lot of what I've learned, of course, I've just learned it today, and I'm going to pretty much read or glean through several pages of material that I've set aside here that I think will answer a lot of questions. But I think there will be no shortage of stories about this woman. I think she's a legend, at least a legend in her own mind. And because she considers herself such a violent, evil, powerful person, and so superior to other grubby humans, it's going to be extra fun to point out to you, the listeners, and anyone else for posterity that might get this recording, especially her, obviously. Whenever I do something like this, it's meant for the enemy's consumption, and certainly I want her to know right away, without going too far into this show, that this slimy bitch, this hag, this wannabe queen is the lowest filth of the earth, and it's time that she met Rambo, certainly. And I know a lot of the Jedi out there that specialize in this sort of thing are going to have a lot of fun zeroing in on her. And I look forward to the reports. But I don't think we're going to find a bigger target. Okay? So let me dive into this just a little bit. Now, again, quite a few people come forward and say, what do you know about this Somerset Belanoff person? And I didn't know, but I'm surprised. And I'll just say that, yes, she is a recluse, and yes, she does do everything she can to be completely, well, as much of a non-person as possible. And the very fact that I didn't know anything about her, it just shows how truly insignificant she really is. So I did run across this one page. I don't really know what they are, but they call themselves the Shadow Watchers. I'm going to start with their material because it's pretty comprehensive, and there's certainly a lot here that I was not aware of. But they are devoted to disseminating as much information about this woman, anything possible related to Somerset Belanoff, the Countess of Banbury and Arran, Arran. She is the third cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, and she is also the current head of the World Governing Council, as well as the Chief Executive Officer of the World Security Office. She sits unchallenged atop the Illuminati hierarchy, and she rules with an iron fist. She has consistently demonstrated a willingness to track down and destroy those hostile to her agenda. Her motto is, debate is required, respectful dissent is allowed, betrayal is a death sentence. And they say within the realm of world governments, there is no one who wields more power. Now, there's a photo of her, high school photo, or it says school photo. I'm assuming it's some sort of a preparatory of something of this nature, dated 1970, and supposedly this is the only known photo of this woman in existence that's out there in the public. And so I'm going to suggest that she may be 18 in this photo, somewhere close to it, which would make her probably, goodness gracious, almost 70 years old. Bob, I don't really need this right now. Make sure you're muted. So, Ms. Somerset, right away I'm going to say you're a hag. Now, I don't know how much baby's blood you're bathing in at this point, but you know, as well as the rest of us know, that your days are numbered at this point. You're getting old, and one of your nieces or daughters or one of these women that you have in your council is going to replace you. But in the meantime, because I just found you, we're going to do everything we can to have some fun with you and hopefully show the rest of your cronies just how impotent and weak you really are. And because you're a woman, it's going to be extra pleasant for me, because I think that's going to be another symptom of your issue, which is a Lilith complex. You think you're the human equivalent of Lilith on Earth. And unfortunately, these fools below you believe it, and that's what gives you power. So tonight we're going to take that power away from you, because you're not going to do anything about this. Okay? So We had fun with Gordon Getty. We had fun with all sorts of people. We had fun with Donald Trump. And yes, they're all worthless and you consider them scum. But you, Miss Wannabe Blue Blood, are equally worthless and full of shit. And tonight we're going to drag your name through that shit. And I'm going to do everything I can to get a rise out of you, bitch. Okay? So here we go. So the information that we're going to present tonight is coming from a bunch of sources. Now bear in mind that she stopped giving interviews in 1979 with very few exceptions. The last time I think was when she was appointed by Queen Elizabeth to represent the United Kingdom on the World Governing Council, whatever the hell that is. Prior to that, she lived a life of a typical British socialite and was interviewed at least twice by Weekly Music Magazine. In the early period, she also contributed articles of the University of Warwick's Manifold magazine, which is focused on mathematics. But pretty much now she's a recluse. She's also fluent quite a few languages. I just want to mention really quick. It would appear that English, German, Russian, Mandarin, French, and Scottish Gaelic. Interesting. So as I said, though, the information that we're going to try to provide tonight came from speeches. It came from emails and exchanges with her subordinates, interviews, commentary from people like in the Windsor family, like Prince Charles or the late Princess Diana, discussions with private citizens who had the opportunity to have minimal but verifiable interaction with her. And this includes people such as Jimmy Carter's personal secretary, who spent time with her at Camp David and later at the Bohemian Grove. Wow, first time I've heard of a woman at the Bohemian Grove. Makes sense, so, huh? Also, some of the information that we're going to present tonight is come from professional investigators. And this is going to be some of the best information, of course, comes from these investigators. And of course, she has made comments to journalists and people who were part of the music scene during the 60s and 70s. So that's what we're going to use. Anyway, needless to say, when I when I started to dig into this information, it was a little overwhelming. Okay, and the connections and it's at the same time it's exciting, but it's a sort of thing like a can of worms or another Pandora's box that I wasn't aware of. But you're going to see that this particular person and the information that we're going to provide surrounding her will connect a lot of dots. And it will give us a larger picture of the system, of how the Illuminati works, the elitism and hierarchy within the system, and as well as the reality of the consumption of humans, how they do it on a large scale, their moral feelings about this, and quite a few other details. Let's just say that I was surprised to find out that there is a cannibal restaurant located not too far away from me, somewhere in Los Angeles area, that's actually run by a very close blood relative of this woman. And yes, it is a cannibal restaurant. So let's start out with, well, she considers herself an Illuminati queen, first of all. And she's famous for saying, "I pull the strings and the elite dance." Now, she claims to have met Satan when she was a young girl. I think it was 13 years old. And we're going to talk about that because there's quite a few stories. She likes to talk about that quite a bit. And this is where she came up with the concept that we'll also talk about. And something that she's been quoted as saying, and that is, it's much more powerful to mock Satan, and that's how you get the demons to run from you. It's kind of like what I do, so she sounds like a pretty tough bitch, and this is the sort of person I want to tangle with. But if anybody was the epitome of Lilith on Earth, I think this woman here probably would represent her, although she did have children, so that's a little bit of a rebuff. Now, one of the things that's extremely interesting about her is that Rasputin, Grigory Rasputin, the the Tsar's, well, you should know who he is. He was known as the Mad Monk in Russia. Well, that's her great-grandfather. Okay? Now, Rasputin, just to share with you a couple details, not only was he extremely influential with the Tsar's family up until the fall of the dynasty, but they had an extremely difficult time killing him. They had to shoot him, stab him, poison him, hang him, burn him. They did all kinds of things to him, and he didn't. It took him a long time for him to finally die, but he was a character with respect to that. So certainly they considered him magical, and we could go on and talk about his sexual exploits and this sort of thing, but he was extremely influential, and we could probably safely say that he used the dark arts. So anyway, Somerset Belanoff, Countess of Banbury and Arran, chairs the World Governing Council and is the Chief Executive Officer of the World Security Office, which is the prosecutorial and enforcement arm of the House of Wettin's upper chamber, and I'll explain to you what that is. This is a powerful cabal which controls all of the elite Illuminati groups, the ones that are familiar to you and researchers. She is the registered owner of the Bohemian Grove domain name and is the likely owner of the actual property where the Bohemian Grove is located. She attended the Brennenden School, of which Princess Anne is also an alumnus. Vladimir Putin has said that the Countess of Banbury and Arran is both the most beautiful woman and the most terrifying person he has ever met. She rules the House of Wettin's upper chamber with an iron fist and is likely responsible for the execution of dozens of Illuminati, which we will talk about. The most recent executions are those of 3 elite international bankers murdered in California in May 2018. We're going to talk about that little story because some of those names are really big. And we talked about them in other shows. Now, through statements and actions over the years, she has made it very clear that she considers groups such as the Bilderbergers, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, etc., to hold a lower position in the cabal than those born into nobility. She refers to these lesser Illuminati members as, quote, grubby, downstairs staff, inferior in rank, intellect, common sense, and breeding, unquote. She thinks her shit don't stink. She has suggested that these newly moneyed lesser Illuminati should be accustomed to living in mud huts with dirt floors as befitting their actual rank. She has been closely associated with the occult from a very early age and claims to have met the devil at Glamis Castle, which we will talk about, when she was a child, and frankly was not impressed. And as I mentioned, is the great-granddaughter of Grigory Rasputin and the great-great-great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria. She travels regularly to the Kremlin, the White House, and of course Buckingham Palace. She arrives unannounced and without an invitation, and she is probably the only person in the world who does this uninvited, yet completely welcome in all those locations. She was the driving force behind the rise of Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union and the ultimate fall of the Soviet Communist Party. She refers to international communism as a filthy cabal full of incompetent, lazy dogs who should be thrown from the castle walls at our earliest convenience. She supposedly ordered Barack Obama to bring down the government of Muammar Gaddafi and told him to be sure that the dictator would be shot in the street like a dog. Doesn't that sound familiar? You guys think Hillary's so wicked. Well, let's see here. What can we say about Elizabeth Somerset Fedorovna Bowes-Lyon Belanoff? Bowes. Wow, Bowes. That's her name. Elizabeth Somerset Feodorovna Bowes-Lyon Belanoff. She was born May 1st. Look at that, May Day, 1953. Oh, my goodness gracious. She's 5 years older than me. May 1. Wow, that's significant. I've got to look into that shit. Holy crap. This is getting spookier as I go. Oh. It's getting kind of close to home. Anyway, she was born at Glamis Castle in Scotland, and this is a well-known location to veteran Illuminati researchers. She shared a strong bond with the late Queen Mother and is the favorite cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. Within the hierarchy of British nobility, she holds the rank of Countess, having been granted that title by Queen Elizabeth II in 1979, when she was appointed to represent the UK in the House of Wetton's Upper Chamber. Her official title is Countess of Banbury and Arran. Well, owing to the persistent intermarriage among the European upper class over the generations, she's also connected to the Dukes of Somerset, the Earls of Strathmore, the Imperial House of Russia, the historical House of Wetton, of which the House of Windsor is also a junior branch, and she is the great-granddaughter of Grigory Rasputin, and Princess Elizabeth of Hesse and by Rhine, who was the granddaughter of Queen Victoria. This means that she is the great-great-granddaughter, great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria, as are Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, the Queen's husband. Okay, let's see here. Counting only her holdings from the Suriname mining and real estate assets she inherited from her industrialist father, her personal fortune is estimated to be at least 14 billion US. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that's probably more than Trump has. Let's see, they say here that as a child she was known to spook family members, guests with casual, factual statements about long-dead relatives who had died in Glamis Castle, often referring to them by nicknames used for them when they were alive. On one occasion, according to Prince Margaret, When she was 8 years old, she joined the grown-ups in a card game and played extremely well, winning several hands. When the astonished adults asked how she learned to play so well, she replied that she had been playing cards on a regular basis with Earl Bardine in a hidden room within the castle since she was 3 years old. And they say that Earl, whoever his name is, Beardy, could beat the devil at cards, she announced, and sometimes I could beat the devil too. Ha ha! Okay, this person is a distant relative of the current royal family who lived in the castle but died there in 1486. Okay, so here's this little child hanging out playing cards with some long-dead relative in this glamorous castle and some demon that she's calling the devil. Okay. So, yeah, she sort of had it in her family, and she sort of grew up with it. I guess that's hard to say. Is it environment or nurturing? I don't know. That's a little bit of both, I think. Okay. We are going to talk about the Wettin dynasty. Again, I really do need to learn more about this. I wasn't aware of it. But my perspective, of course, has been from the standpoint of the Getty and Queen Elizabeth's role and whoever sits on that throne. And I can see now that what is really happening, I mean, it's hard to say. Obviously, the crown is very important, but at the same time, as we're going to show, the kingdom that's in Brussels, in Belgium, is also extremely important to what's going on here. So from a satanic standpoint or from an Illuminati standpoint, more of the dark workings and you could say the capital of what they do is probably in Brussels. And of course we know that this whole country, Belgium, was set up by a revolution financed by the Rothschilds, and it went on to exterminate something like, 60 million people in the Congo, I believe it was, could be more. Anyway, needless to say, there's so much blood involved, and we're going to get into it. But let's just say that easily we could see that this little girl wasn't just trained in the dark arts. She was groomed. Genetically, she probably has a position in the grand scheme of things. And she certainly does seem to have some skills. All of these things, of course, make her a wonderful target or adversary and a stand-in for the ultimate battle with Lilith. And once again, as it is with champions, as we've talked about in war, the sooner you slay their champion, the sooner they lay down their arms. So what better champion can we go after than this bitch right here? The one that orders the death of them. The one that they tremble in fear over her glance. So, let me continue. So enough about her pedigrees and her everything that comes with it. But let's just say she considers herself the elite of the elite and the most illuminated of the Illuminati. Again, a lot of what they do is business, and we don't really need to focus too much on the various businesses because these are sources of money. But everything that we've talked about with the slush funds created by the Queen that float down between the people like Besco and Soros and on to people like Trump and Clinton and everyone else that's in power. Obviously, someone like this is on the very highest levels of that entire operation, so high that she looks down with disdain and disgust upon the people at the highest levels that we can even perceive at this point from our perspective. Well, let's look at her relationship with Grigory Rasputin. Apparently, her mother, or her, she's the great-granddaughter of Princess Elizabeth of Hesse and by Rhine, who is allegedly either seduced or sexually assaulted by Rasputin while both were frequent visitors to the Russian Tsar's court. And the exact relationship between Princess Elizabeth and Rasputin is unclear. But they may have been manipulated. So that should tell you quite a bit. But Princess Elizabeth was the sister of another of Queen Victoria's granddaughters, a Princess Alexandra, who was married to Nicholas II. Now, Rasputin, of course, allegedly had supernatural powers, which he used to heal the Tsar's son, who suffered from hemophilia. And he is alleged also to use these powers to seduce hundreds of women. Well, that's a bad thing to suggest that someone that's capable of doing healing would use those powers to seduce women. What a terrible thing to say. Anyway, they suggest that Rasputin had also seduced Alexandra, the Tsar's wife. Now, they say that the mother, Elizabeth, and Rasputin were known to have adversarial relationships and argued frequently in the presence of Alexandra. But in 1909, Elizabeth sold her possessions and used the proceeds to open a convent, the convent of Saints Martha and Mary, and she became the abbess of the convent and ran it until her death at the hands of the Bolsheviks in 1918. Isn't that interesting? So they are both members of the Russian Orthodox Church. Let's just say that obviously what happened at the convent suggests that certainly somebody was having sex because people were being born. But it gets a little bit fuzzy right there. Now, there is a lot of evidence and documentation to support all this stuff. But I mentioned earlier about the three Illuminati that were murdered in California. Okay, that was California in May, I believe it was, 2018. That wasn't that long ago. Okay, in 2018, the bodies of three high-profile banking magnates were found in Ventura County. Okay, that's north of me here. And all were delegates attached to the Wheaton lower chamber and were from wealthy banking families. The three were allegedly aligned to the so-called rogue faction within the lower chamber opposed to Ms. Belanov's agenda. According to sources in Luxembourg, the murdered men are suspected of attempting to sabotage, now this is pretty interesting here, Ms. Belanov's private jet in early February 2018. She was preparing to fly to her vacation home in Suriname when she noticed what she described as an anomaly in the pitch of her plane's engines as it idled on the runway. She immediately instructed the pilot to shut down the engines and ordered a complete checkup on her Gulfstream G650ER. Those are really nice. Anyway, basically, suffice it to say that she realized that it would have exploded midair had she not checked on it. Now, on February 22nd, detectives from the investigative branch and judicial branch of the World Security Office, the one that she runs, working under the direction of this other person, issued an internal warrant and arrest for, now these are interesting names because these are the three guys right here. Mikhail Abramovich Berezovsky. Do you remember him? That's just one of them. That's that foe of Vladimir Putin, the one that was killed recently on the Peace Bridge. Remember that? Oh, this is interesting. I'm pretty sure that's who I'm talking about, but we'll have to go look it up. But obviously, he's a Russian billionaire. Another guy named David Papelio, Graver, and Eric Jacob Wallenberg. Wallenberg. That's a pretty big name. Okay, on March 9th, the three men were apprehended at JFK Airport in New York and were fingerprinted, photographed, and booked into the Metropolitan Detention Facility in Brooklyn. 4 days later, on March 13th, 2018, officials at the detention facility announced that the three fugitives had been inadvertently released and their whereabouts unknown. On March 16th, Interpol issued red notices all over the world for their arrest, and they were on the run, or allegedly not found, for several months before a meeting of violent end near the western tunnel of the Santa Susana Railway near the Los Angeles and Ventura County line. They didn't get too far, did they? It was likely the would-be assassins were killed on Bellinav's orders. It was like, well, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. So yes, obviously she had something to do with it. Well, here's what the Sheriff's Department says. According to the official documentation of the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, they have photos. They provide photos depicting Glamis Castle with references to Somerset Belknap were found with the victims' clothing. The victims had been shot, stripped of their clothing, and left on railroad tracks where they were struck by a westbound Metrolink commuter train. Police reports indicate in addition to being shot, Mr. Gravier was also hit in the head with a hatchet. Documents leaked by the Ventura County Sheriffs were uploaded to various websites like 4chan and another, presumably to provide proof to the cabal, the wet and upper chamber, that the killings had been carried out. But they do, when they made these posts, though, which they spoke in code. On February 7th of 2018, the following, they sent a message which basically said, all towers and stations, Abel Wolf has gone to ground, summon Lord Chaos, and release the Hounds of Havoc. Then on May 5th, 2018, they posted another message. All towers and stations, Project Abel Wolf is concluded. On the 4th of May, the Hounds of Havoc overtook their prey. 3 traitors delegates, their souls released, were placed on cold steel rails to await the 115. Many thanks to Lord Chaos, for the butchery was exquisite and a fine example was provided to all. Debate is required. Respectful dissent isn't allowed, and treachery is a death sentence. And of course, that's a reference to the 115 is a reference to the Metrolink commuter train, which was the 115. Okay, so that's obviously this woman has no fear of this sort of thing, and she will gladly let the rest of her cohorts know what happens if they cross her. So that's why it makes it that much more exquisite for someone that has supposedly no power whatsoever to basically call her out and show them that she can't do shit. Here's a little something that she said, a quotation from this girl, this woman, and she said this to the Reverend Billy Graham. Quote, I've met your devil, sir, and frankly I was not impressed. Lucifer is a third-rate demonic entity who relies on his biblical fame in attempt to hold on to power. The pathetic fool once offered to give me the world on a silver platter in return for my immortal soul. I told him I already have the world. I have this silver platter, and I have no need for his silly trinkets. I told him if he annoyed us further, I would take his eyes out, and he left. I was 13 years old. End quote. Anyway, so needless to say, let's see. Here's an interesting little thing. She's got this unusual connection to the German town of Hamelin. Okay, remember that? Here's a clue. The Pied Piper, who led away all the village's children 700 years ago. Every year on June 26th, a post appears on the Glamis calling blog to commemorate the Hamelin tragedy. It may seem touching or even sweet, the idea of a 65-year-old woman who believes in the terrible legend and is moved to post a comment on her blog to remind the world that children are precious and we must never let something like this happen again. But when you actually view the post and listen to the audio, it isn't touching at all. It's really, really creepy. Instead of a message of comfort, the post may be interpreted as a condemnation of parents who allowed their children to be taken. Worse, one gets the feeling that Miss Belanoff may be mocking the village. Why emphasize parental negligence in a case that happened 700 years ago, if it happened at all? A few other interesting little ditties. Anyway, her connection to the Hamlin and the Pied Piper is certainly an enigma. But according to Peter Graham, the late manager of Led Zeppelin, the song Stairway to Heaven is about Belanoff and includes references to her that were well known to people in London in the art and music scene. We mention this here because the song also includes the words, "The Piper's calling you to join him." You remember that line? Oh my God. Well, I, of course, am a Led Zeppelin fan, but it's an obvious reference to her connection to the Pied Piper. The May Queen also refers directly to her, and she is the lady who is buying the Stairway to Heaven. Supposedly, in the 60s, she was known informally in the London art scene as the May Queen, mostly because probably May 1st is her birthday, and she was known as a sort of magical, regal person. Anyway, that's kind of sick. Here's one of her posts where she says, it's 733 years since our children left. Anyway, she did this other thing where she, obviously there's lots of infighting with these groups. You know, you can't trust these sort of people, certainly not amongst themselves, but she was a definite critic of Aleister Crowley. And she referred to his Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn as the pathetic Order of the Golden Yawn. When she met him in '69, she was introduced to him by the Led Zeppelin manager. It turned into a sorcery showdown. Anyway, she's been doing this since she was 16. It's interesting, though, that she was a major in mathematics, though. Let's see, she was definitely a beautiful young person, big on the rock scene. She was called Lilibet back then, short for Lilibeth. Sort of sounds a little bit like Lilith, doesn't it? Anyway, she went to school in China, majoring in mathematics. That's kind of wild, huh? But she definitely studied her occult the whole time she was away. Let's see, what else did she do that was interesting? Well, I don't want to focus on that too much, the occult stuff, but let's just say she spent quite a bit of time digging that up. Well, let's talk about this appointment to the World Council here thing. But that was in 1979 when she was appointed by Queen Elizabeth, of course. And again, I don't know what this stupid thing is, but apparently it's pretty significant. But at 26 years of age, she was the youngest delegate to sit on the council. She basically took it over from that point on. Let's see here. From 1947 until his assassination by the IRA, that would be Mountbatten, he was the representative. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because it would almost suggest that she might have had something to do with his assassination. You know how it is with these people. Golly gee. Sounds like a purge. Anyway, the House of Wettin dates from approximately 950 AD and is Europe's preeminent dynastic family. The ancestral home of the House of Wettin is in Germany. But due to the historical importance of the dynasty, its influence extends across the globe. All the people that you've ever heard of in the context of ruling elite or Illuminati have ties and are in fact governed by the Wettin World Governing Council. The Committee of 300, the Vatican, the Windsors, the Rothschilds, the Habsburgs, the Bilderbergs, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, the Vanderbilts, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the United Nations all send their delegate to the Wettin Council and are all ultimately controlled to a large degree by Wettin. Members of the Wettin dynasty have been kings and queens of many European countries. In 1840, Queen Victoria married Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, a prince of the House of Wettin, which meant that the House of Windsor was annexed by marriage to the House of Wettin. The children of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert never used the surname Wettin, but it was in fact the official surname of the royal family. During World War I, due to anti-German sentiment at home, of course, the royal family officially changed their surname to Windsor. Smart move. Now, upon taking her seat at the Windsor as the Windsor delegate in October 79, she began to exercise a much greater degree of authority than any of her predecessors and introduced a number of sweeping reforms. She was able to do this without a significant amount of bloodshed, but the primary goals of her reforms were to divide the governing forum into two tiers, an upper chamber and a lower chamber. The proposed structure would vest all decision power in the upper chamber, which would include only those delegates who were from the ancient dynastic families. Lower chamber would consist of those delegates who had acquired power within the last couple of 100 years through industry and commerce, those mud hut dwellers, right? Like Bill Gates and such, or Getty for that matter. Another way to this is the upper chamber, where all the decisions are made, includes dukes, earls, princes, counts, and countesses, barons, baronesses. The lower chamber consists of the world's wealthiest families, such as the Vanderbilts, Rockefellers, and Rothschilds. She also wanted to ensure that decisions of the World Governing Council would not be swayed by any prevailing political philosophies or financial interests. This was the primary reason that the membership in the upper chamber was reserved for those who had inherited their wealth and positions. She wanted to mitigate the influence of those few remaining delegates who had been supporters of Hitler, as well as those delegates who supported Soviet communism. And she wanted to establish an independent World Security Office with herself as the head, responsible for enforcing the rules of the governing council and holding member delegates accountable to a central authority. The Security Council would also be authorized to commandeer any military force or intelligence gathering apparatus in the world, including space-based weapons and satellite communications. Anyway, needless to say, that raised a big old ruckus, especially since she was so young. But let's just say what happened. Well, let's see. An assassination plot was hatched by 18 of the most powerful delegates, all of whom were princes and dukes from Europe's most elite houses. She learned of the plot And after the final vote was tallied, she confronted the conspirators in an open forum, accusing them of treason. She ordered 12 of the would-be assassins to climb the castle's north tower and jump to their deaths. The remaining 6 were given revolvers, and she ordered them to proceed to the adjoining courtyard where they were to shoot themselves. Karl Feldhaus, a servant at the council who waited upon the delegates, said that all the conspirators followed the Countess's instructions as though they were under some kind of spell. Mr. Feldhaus said that after the 12 princes had left the table and ascended the stairs to the North Tower, Miss Belanoff made the remark, 12 lords a-leaping, in reference to the line from the popular Christmas song. Wow. Well, I could tell you about the structure of the World Governing Council, but let's just say that these are the groups that you don't hear about, but they're definitely involved in the, policy, strategy, finance, banking, technology, international relationships, real estate, etc. But below them are the Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, the Council for Relation, the International Monetary Fund, all heads of state, industry, development, and commerce, and the United Nations. So that's got to be the most powerful organization that you've never heard of, and this bitch is the one that thinks that she's going to run it. So needless to say, she's our new target. If they all jump for her, literally, we're going to play with her head now, literally. Now, let's just say that she does like to make, even though she's pretty much an unknown, she does issue her directorates. And she uses a website, glamiscalling.org, which of course represents this castle, Glamis Castle in Scotland. Anyway, she uses this extensively to distribute announcements to heads of state, military, law enforcement, Supreme Court, and other power structures answering to the World Governing Council. So they have to follow her blog to know how to run the world, basically. Let's see what they say here. We believe Cathedral currently uses the site less and is now using updated technology to broadcast their message. Note that there is some activity on the Wetland Twitter account, and those messages are very cryptic. As far as for the Glamis Calling site, some of the messages are cryptic and more clear. For example, a clear communication is the message that appeared on January 3rd, 2019, wherein she instructs Vice Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the commander of the U.S. Sixth Fleet, to send the destroyer USS Donald Cook to the Black Sea with instructions to meet up with the Turkish naval counterparts and then proceed to the port of Odessa. In the same port, she instructs the commander of the Russian Black Sea Fleet that he is allowed to observe but not to interfere with the U.S. ships. Several weeks later, U.S. military news announces that the USS Donald Cook was indeed moving through the Dardanelles Strait en route to the Black Sea. It may be a good idea to review the organization chart, which we will do very soon. If you view this organization chart, that look like models, they're her relatives. But you'll note that the Military and Space Command Office is the likely route that she would take in the event she wants to assume control over part of all of the country's armed forces. Isn't that interesting, since Trump just created the U.S. Space Force? That is so interesting. Wow. Well, let's see. I'm just going to go over some quotes here. I know we're going to move on a little bit longer because I want to talk about the cannibalism stuff and some of these other details. But before that, I just want to give you some quotes that were put out there from some famous people regarding this person that we're targeting right now. Well, let's see. The first one I'll read to you is a little bit of a longer one, but this guy here is Gordon McLennan, the former Secretary General of the British Communist Party. And he's speaking to editor of Marxism group magazine. Somerset Belanoff is the most dangerous person in the world. She is more ruthless than Hitler, more cunning than Machiavelli, more violent than Jack the Ripper. And her new position within the wet and upper chamber, she will wield far more power and do more damage than the Queen of England or any American president. Mark my words, our beloved Soviet model will fall if she's allowed to remain in power, and we could probably say goodbye to the Warsaw Pact and the Berlin Wall too if she gets her way. I can't think of anyone or anything in this world that can stop her once she sets her mind to some nefarious idea. This is a woman who strolls into the Kremlin and White House and Buckingham Palace without invitation, and she invariably gets what she wants. She's Rasputin's granddaughter, after all. What more is there to say? Here's Vladimir Putin. I fear only 3 things in this world: Lady Belanoff, illness, and death, in that order. Here's Prince Charles, Prince of Wales. She's my cousin, actually, and if I can't think of anyone I'd rather have by my side in times of difficulty, or anyone I'd rather not have on the other side. Okay, here's David Rockefeller, and he made this statement in 1915. Oh, no, he died at 110. Okay, he was the founder of the Trilateral Commission. Anyway, he said, Lady Somerset Belanoff taught me the value of letting go of my pride and the wisdom of respectfully retreat so you can live another day. When I'm asked, to what do you attribute your extraordinary long life? My response is always the same. I had the good fortune to remain in the good graces of Countess Somerset Belanoff. In other words, she didn't kill him. Let's see, here's what Rothschild has to say. This is Nathaniel Charles Jacob Rothschild, 4th Baron Rothschild. This is what he has to say. Some of us were astute enough to read the writings on the wall when the Countess first arrived to fill the position left by the old Mountbatten. A good number of us weren't certain whether we'd survive her reformation. I, for one, wanted to be on her side, so I made a decision then and there to be her strongest ally, no matter what she proposed. A few colleagues on the old council took their dissent too far. The fools started making plans to murder her. That was a stupid move because I've never been entirely certain how she does it, but the Countess is always a few steps ahead of whatever anyone else is planning. I think she knew from the beginning that these particular 18 delegates were planning evil against her. Of course, we saw what happened to the doomed 18 delegates. 12 of them jumped to their death of his own accord, and 6 more shot themselves without hesitation. A ghastly thing to watch, but make no mistake, the Countess sent a message, and every one of us received it loud and clear. Here's a quote that comes from a younger person, contemporary, who's actually related to her. I believe we're going to talk about her because she's on this council, Wetton Council. Her name's Tiamat Marbani. She's the former executive property manager and current chief of staff to Miss Belanoff. Tiamat is the name of a goddess, I believe, a deity, god of destruction, I believe it is. She says, Lady Somerset is the most unique, most generous, and most gracious person I've ever known. I've met heads of state, royalty, and chiefs of industry, and I can confidently say I've never come across anyone more charismatic or who projects more personal power. Oh, here's what Trump has to say about her. This should be interesting. It should be some real wisdom here, right, coming from Trump. Let's see what he said. Let's see what our president had to say. Smart, tough lady, and we've had very good conversations, very productive. It's a great partnership, and we'll accomplish great things, very great things. Yeah, that sounds like Trump. Okay. Oh, here's a guy, Irv Rubin. Now, Irv Rubin is dead, but he was the chair. He was the chairman of the Jewish Defense League. Now, they threw him in jail out here in California, and he was killed in jail. I actually had the opportunity to meet the guy, but this is what he says about her. In 1990, Ms. Belenov's office contacted the JDL to let us know about some bad characters traveling to Los Angeles. They thought we might be interested in intercepting these guys, and we were. 3 former Soviet intelligence agents that had teamed up with 2 Hezbollah terrorists, and they were traveling to Los Angeles for a fundraising event with some Hollywood sympathizers. Ms. Belenov, through her staff, tipped us off that these 5 men were scheduled to land in Los Angeles, and she provided the airline and flight numbers. She also had intelligence on which hotel they would be staying at, and she flew an envoy out to meet us and give us a ton of photographs of each of these men, photos from varying angles so we would know them immediately when we met. Because of her intel was so thorough, we were able to easily identify the men. When they exited the plane, we picked them up at LAX in a borrowed limo and took them on a tour of the desert. I think they got lost because apparently they were never heard from again. Anyway, Somerset Belenov has our allegiance and will return the favor for her anytime, no questions asked. Well, let's look at some of her staff here. Who's who at the World Governing Council? I swear, if you look at their executive team, they look like models. I'm not kidding. We'll start with Tiamat Marbani, Chief Technology Officer of the World Governing Council. Perhaps not coincidentally, it appears her parents named her after the ancient Sumerian deity Tiamat, goddess or demon of chaos and creation. Oh boy. I don't really want to. Oh, jeez. All right, she's demonic as all fuck, all right? She looks like a fucking model, but she's demonic as all fuck. Her bloodline stretches deep into Middle Eastern history in the time of the Babylonian rulers, and she's said to have intimate knowledge of the ancient demon gods of that era. She's made significant progress on several ambitious and possibly demonic projects, which include the ability to target, listen to, and record conversations which occurred in the past, stabilizing vibrational frequencies to enable consistent communications with the lower astral dimensions, and expanding ethereal communications with ancient deities of the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Akkadian pantheons. She holds a Master's of Science degree in Structural Engineering and Condensed Matter Physics from MIT, and a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from the American University in Cairo. And she looks like a supermodel. Next supermodel on the list, this one's blonde, Natalie Belenov Windsor. She's the youngest daughter of Belenov, and she reports directly to the Countess. She oversees satellite and terrestrial communications related to lost lullaby frequency, forgotten frequency, and their associated nodes, which include the Hyacinth node and where most of the Capricorn uploads occur. She sits on the board of governors responsible for Luxembourg Cathedral, which is the primary communications tower as well as the home of the Shadow Lion and headquarters of the World Governing Council's Belenov. Windsor holds a Bachelor degree of Science in Physics from Oxford's University Hertford College, and a Master's of Science degree in Computational Engineering from Brunel University in London. She is married to Lord Oliver Windsor and is the former lady-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth II. Also looks like a supermodel. Here's another one. Looks like a supermodel. One of the most senior policymakers at the governing council is Karina Belanov, the middle daughter and Elector General of the Upper Chamber. She is responsible for communications, connections, and enforcement of directives for Wetton Towers throughout the world, and is the chief protocol officer for Bohemian Grove. She manages a staff of approximately 50 Wetton technicians who run the day-to-day operations of communications. Like both of her sisters, she reports directly to her mother, the Countess. Observers have noted that Karina Belanov, like several people close to the Countess, has a condition known as heterochromia, meaning each eye is a different color. Isn't that interesting? Here's another one. Another fucking supermodel. Amy Belanov, St. John. This is Miss Belanov's niece and the daughter of Sir Michael and Marisa Windsor St. John. She's currently employed as a special assistant to Somerset Belanov and is expected to become a permanent member of the executive team upon completion of her studies at Cambridge. She looks like she's 16. Okay, here's a woman who's obviously not related. She's black, but her name is Tessa Lynn Gordy. She's the chief of staff. She used to serve as a special assistant to the Countess. Oh boy, she's got some blood on her hands, huh? She is the great grandniece of music executive and founder of Motown Records, Berry Gordy, and also the great grandniece of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. Berry Gordy and Jimmy Carter are second cousins. She met the Countess in 2010 at Camp David in the U.S. while working for former President Carter. The two became close friends, and she recently moved to Scotland to work for her. Let's see what we got here. We got men. Oh, here's one. Well, it goes down, it continues. Wow, this is an interesting one. Responsible for military forces provided to Wetton by the Republic of Ireland. Okay, it goes on and on. There's quite a few people, but basically, what are we? Oh my God! I don't know what it is, but they definitely seem to only hire beautiful people. This is really bizarre. The ethereal team. Okay, this is interesting. Let's look at what these guys are. This is kind of bizarre. Officially known as the Office of Ethereal Operations, this team works full-time on occult aspects of the World Security Office under the direction of Rebecca Belanov Brandeis, who reports to Somerset Belanov. These individuals are said to possess a high degree of sensitivity to otherworldly vibrations and are said to be able to focus their consciousness outside of the material plane for long periods of time. Allegedly, they are also chosen for this work because they possess the charisma and temperament required to establish a rapport with otherworldly beings. Okay, let me look at them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, let me just say this. There's quite a few of them here. Wow. But they're mostly beautiful women. Okay. Oh, boy. Yeah. Let me see if there's any famous ones here. None that I recognize. But no, this to me seems very reminiscent of the Vril, if you will. Okay, here's a thing down at the bottom here. They call it the insane staff. These are people that worked on the VibeSat program. They are housed at the Belden Royal Hospital in London. Insiders say they were brought to the cathedral headquarters complex in Luxembourg to work on a special project under the direction of Belanoff and later Tiamat. The work, which lasted more than a year, required extensive interaction with ancient demonic entities from the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Akkadian religions, as well as thousands of ghost-like entities on the lower astral. The purpose of the program was to enable the Wetton team to contact other vibrational dimensions using highly advanced technology. Insiders tell us the project has been fully implemented and the systems have already received several upgrades to continue improvement. The individuals listed below still reside at the Bedlam Lunatic Asylum in London, but they are frequently released on supervised travel papers to work on updates to VibeSat. Whoa. So these guys are these are the staff members who are clinically insane. Starting with Dr. Archibald Bird, a former professor of ancient religions. He retired from teaching in 2010 due to his deteriorating mental health, although he was still sane enough to earn a second PhD in computer science in 2017. Here's an interesting one. Stella Daniels helped develop the lost lullaby frequency and engineered Wetton's early systems, connecting the material plane to other dimensions. Her frequency connections were effective at piercing the veil between the living and the dead, but the early technology wasn't able to provide stable connectivity due to oscillating vibrational frequencies. She went insane in 2015, but continued to work on stabilization for the duration of the VibeSat program. She is widely respected at the World Governing Council for her pioneering work. Jeez Louise. Their insane stuff is kind of large. There's some deceased ones, too. Oh my God, some of them, they really look insane. They got the weird eye thing going on. Several of them do. Holy crap. Wow, it just goes on and on and on. All right, what else can I tell you about these guys? Let's talk about, before I move on here, because we are getting into time and I want to give the people a chance to get involved and take a break, but I'm going to talk real quick about this elite cannibal restaurant that's opened here not too far away from me, because it's connected to these people, and it's only, this stuff is in your face and it's only getting bigger. But anyway, it was established in 2015. It's called the Hollydale. They claim to be a purveyor of the finest human flesh, harvested flesh from only the most attractive, willing donors, skillfully and reverently prepared by world-class master chefs. Now, it says here that the restaurant and staff are privately owned by Karina Belanoff, daughter of Somerset Belanoff, Countess of Banbury-Nara. She sits on the board of governors at the World Governing Council in Luxembourg, and she travels frequently to Los Angeles to ensure the Hollydale is always in tip-top shape. An exceptionally talented concert-level pianist, she has been known to deliver a surprise performance from time to time, entertaining guests at the Hollydale's torso room. Due to California licensing restrictions on the transport of human organs, we cannot allow guests to take food out of the restaurant. All half-eaten food is repackaged and transported by licensed personnel to charitable institutions such as shelters, orphanages, and institutions for the elderly. Here's a sample of the menu. Let's see here. Baked oysters with mushroom and cream. Now, if you're allergic to shellfish, remember, these don't come from the ocean. Do I need to tell you what they are? Tasty tongue. Slow cooked overnight with onions and garlic and bay leaf, chopped and served over a green salad, or coupled with fresh homemade pasta. Tongue. Hearts of fire, braised in sherry. Salted brains, Bogota. Tokyo-style kidney pie. Ugh. Irish hammered head cheese. Made from whole skull, beaten with a hammer, boiled in a pot. Blood pudding. Ugh. Fish and finger pie. Real lady fingers. Meat falls right off the bone. French thighs and pommes frites. Leg of Frenchman in garlic and rosemary. Dulce de leche. You guys know what that is, right? Anyway. This one's made with mother's milk, which I don't really feel is as bad as some of the other stuff. I don't know if that should be enough, you know. I mean, come on. First of all, let me just wrap this up. But
could we order it on Grubhub?
Hey, shut up. Obviously, you are of the filthy class that they won't allow. But come on, man. I'm not ready. Shit. Needless to say, this is a perfect target for us because this is a person that claims to have all of these skills. So what better target for Rambo and the rest of us than to pay this person a visit? I think she deserves it. And the very fact that she clearly has such disdain for humanity and has this ridiculously inflated ego and sense of self, I think that's another reason. But if she truly is as high up as she is, then I don't think there's any more thing that we could do. Oh my God, come on. T-Rex wrote a song about her? Really? Don't. Please, really? That song is about her? Bang a gong? Oh my God, really? Mock the devil and he shall flee from thee. All right. Anyway, that's enough of her. But I'll post a picture of her. And like I said, there's a whole lot of people. All you got to do is Google her name, go to the pictures, find it. Those of you Jedi that need to see her, I know a lot of you don't. You just need to, you can zoom right in on her. Don't be afraid. Obviously, we've got this. And the very fact that this has come into our sights would suggest that it's time, and nothing is an accident. So that's enough of her. But again, the whole purpose of the show was to let her know that she's finally become a target, and also to let all of her underlings know that whatever power they think she has is going to be displayed as worthless real soon. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back, and we're going to take a break here real quick, and I'm going to warm up my tea, and then we'll come back, and Bob and everyone can come in and say hi. And but otherwise, I just want to say thank you all for listening so far, and I hope you enjoyed it, and send us some money on PayPal. No. Oh, here, real quick, before we go to break, I just want to see who's out there, because there's a few people I want to check in on. Oh, darn it. Oh, we got a few people out there. We got quite a few interesting people here. We have the Netherlands with us, Czech Republic, Germany, Thailand is here tonight, Ottawa, Canada, United Kingdom, of course. Oh, Mexico. So we have a nice little mix-up of people from the international. Let me see. I'm looking for Oceanside right now. Where is Oceanside? Yeah, I see you, Cyprus. How you doing? Oh, there she is, Oceanside. Yay. Oh, Oceanside's only been here for 2 minutes. Okay, anyway. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. But everybody, I hope you like that. And it was pretty thick for me. But this isn't going to go away, okay? She's going to be in my dreams for quite a bit. And we're going to be raising hell over there in Scotland or where the hell she's hanging out. So have no mercy, people, all right? I'm going to go ahead and mute. Let's take a break.
Good evening. Bonsoir. Guten Morgen. Dobro jutro. Dobre rano, mili přátelé. Dear friends, welcome to Truthcut Radio Network. Thank you for listening to the Stephen D. Kelley Show. Thursday tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Western, LA time. Please join live on air by tuning in at www.truthcatradio.com. On the homepage, you will find Press Arrow to Sound, and you have several options: YNAB, iTunes, Windows Media Player, Real Player, and QuickTime. If you don't see the player, try using the player on the chat page. You may need to update your browser. We encourage you to join Stephen on the air and share with other listeners. Be sure to turn down your radio all the way before you make contact on Skype. Stay quiet when you are connected and wait for the host to call on you with your area code. Please try to mute any background noise until you are called upon to speak. If you go on TruthCat Radio and click on TruthCat Store, you'll find several products to share. And if you are able to contribute to Stephen's operating budget, please use the PayPal account stephenkelly714@gmail.com. STEVENKELLEY714@gmail.com. Yes, because TruthCats is listener supported. And thank you to you all who have contributed. While on PayPal, try to hit a click where it says friend or family, so there is no money taken by PayPal. Because if you don't do that, they take a percentage. And, it would be much easier if you just hit the friend click. Please don't write messages because it doesn't help that much. So you could also support Stevens on Patreon.com/Stephen D. Kelley. Please do not use the PayPal account email for any correspondence. If you'd like to contact TruthCat Radio, please email Stephen at law17gun@aol.com. LAW17GUN@AOL.com. And you'll receive for free his PDF version of his book, Lasers, Cavers, and Magic. If you want to buy the new revision, Cities Under the Plane, that's available on Amazon or Kindle edition for $7. Never a normal man, Stephen finds himself spiraling into the surreal world of early exposure to CIA, NSA agents, aliens, UFOs, and secret underground bunkers included. From inventing laser weapon systems, Dr. Kelley avoids Templars and Bilderbergers and rather chooses to heal the world with human energy. Thus, a true story of one man's journey from guns and lasers to metaphysics and spirituality. And talking about spirituality, remember our petition? Free the children under the Getty Center for Christmas and New Year. Getty Center Museum in Los Angeles, California. Being Christmas and New Year, it's only right to remember the children being held as sex slaves under the elite, for the elite under the Getty Center in Los Angeles. Since the White House will never say anything about this, we need to make petitions to force it into the public spotlight, so that maybe our so-called law enforcement agencies can do what we created them for and stop these horrible crimes being committed behind the secrecy of our so-called continuity of government. Prove to the world and this country that Stephen D. Kelley is wrong. Prove that there are no sex slaves inside our secret military bunkers that you build with our stolen wealth. God bless all those strong enough to stand up for these victims, and may God damn all those who stand in the way of their rescue. May God show mercy on us all. I may say a prayer. Eternal Father, Creator of this universe, please hear this hour our earnest prayer. Anoint our eyes, our ears, our lips, our minds, our hearts, our souls with your divine inner flame of fire. Almighty Lord in heaven, provide us now with the perfect health, abundance, and longevity. O Lord, revitalize and redirect our energies into your divine service, Holy Spirit and Jesus the Nazarene. Angels and archangels, touch us now with your divine inner flame of fire and calls us to be the perfect masters that you intend us to be. In the blessed name of our Creator and His sovereign Son and thy Holy Spirit.
Rambo.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Okay. That's a good time. Okay. You're done, right? Yes?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, of course, we went for roughly, an hour and 20 minutes or so of recording, which is good because that means we had a lot of content. Oh, yeah, an hour and 28 minutes so far before we took our break, or an hour and 20 minutes. I want to go ahead and, obviously, I've got Bob, and I've got Missy here, but I also want to try to there's all sorts of people that are green out there. I see Misha's looks like he's listening. Hi, Joan. She looks like she's here. Where's that RD? He must be hiding. He's probably having issues. I gotta bring his butt in here. Oh, yeah, he's gonna be green. All right. Anyway, I mentioned a couple times here the symbol of Lilith, and ultimately, I think that that's going to be our final battle. But this is about as close as we're going to get in a human form when it gets near as I can tell. I've always talked about the people that are living underground that you never see. Well, I suspect that this person is pretty high up there and may be one of the highest people that we could probably access. So this is definitely a worthy focus for us. Hey, what's this with the video here? Get out of here. Jeez. Anyway. All right. Has anyone here, I got RD here, but I know you guys, who's heard about this person before? Bob, have you heard about this person before?
Last Friday. I haven't.
No?
Nope. You really educated me tonight and you're blowing my mind.
Pretty big stuff, huh?
Well, it's the biggest. Yeah,
it seems to be the biggest so far.
Seems to be the biggest, but the stuff that you were talking about, all the underlings that are attached to the other world, off planet. This is exactly why there's been loosh over.
No.
There was a spaceship over the.
But this is why we have to have Jedi fighting people like this. Look at what they're harnessing. They're not even hiding. This is on the internet. People are probably looking like this is a joke, but they're not even hiding the fact that they're conjuring up entities and demons and accessing the energy from these sources. They're not even hiding it.
No, right after your show last week, I got onto this. It was a Twitter post that was vague. You had to spell out the code to get the name. And I thought, okay. And I brought up that name, and you covered it all. That's everything I've been reading for like days now. Great show. I got excited when I thought you brought up a show, and I didn't know if I communicated about it to you or not, or somebody else. But then I see you do the show, and I'm kind of like really stoked on it because I get, what we what we see manifest in the 3D is subsequent to, you're talking about, I've been feeling for days we're onto a new target, and that crops up. Something else cropped up in the feeling I've been getting lately about the Getty, it's a crown jewel. You go underground, where do you get out from once you go down? And
where do the portals go? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think we know where the portals go.
But the Getty has a perimeter. They had to have a defensible perimeter or they wouldn't have built it. And I get this like access denied or no vacancy. Like, is somebody circling the wagons? Because this all feels connected.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. The circling the wagons is a good analogy because I've been bringing this up because I try to tell people when they start circling the wagons, it's already too late. You're already screwed. They've
gone underground.
They are circling the wagons. And I'm not going to get into that too much tonight, RD, because what's actually happening is really, really large, but that's not what this show is about tonight. Tonight we're focusing on this bitch. The very fact that she's going down is a good example of what's happening. but
I've
you're
been
right.
so waiting for people to follow the matriarchal line.
No,
You know?
it's crashing. It's crashing
Oh.
exponentially, and the people, I see it in the Trump fans. I see it on Q. Q's a great place, but people are waking up, and I know that sounds cliche, but what's happening is they're starting to accept certain things, and they're not fighting it the way they were, and they're coming to some conclusions which are actually good. And what we've done, which is really a big deal, what I like to take credit for to a large degree, is giving them an alternative, because so many of these people that were expecting Trump to be the end all for our salvation, they're actually coming to me now and realizing, wait a minute, they're all crooks. They're all starting to see that, yes, they are all crooks, and but instead of having that despair of not having a choice, they're realizing, well, wait a minute, there is an alternative. Occupy the Getty, and it's all starting to click, and it's becoming real, and people are asking the right questions now. They're wanting to know about the Getty. They want to know about the Jedi stuff. They want to know about the healing stuff. They want to know about psychic stuff. They want to know everything about everything. And they wanted to know about this woman here, and this is why we're talking about her, because during the last Q&A that I had in the QAnon page, this was one of the subjects that came up. People want to know what's up with this Somerset Belanoff person, and I thought, like I said, she was just sort of a Maria Abramovich, but now I realized, this is the one. This is target number one. I mean, this woman makes Gordon Getty look like such a. I mean, she physically, when she talks about the lower chamber and how those are just rich people who made their money in the last 100 years or so, that's your Gettys. That's people like that. That's your Rockefellers. That's your et cetera, your Rothschilds. But they aren't the real deal. They're not the blood, like these people. So this is a wonderful time for us.
Within faction, there's always other factions, but there's one big one, and we nailed it. I'm telling you, somewhere. Oh, by the way, you brought this out, and the way you did it, I'm going to be hanging out with my good buddy Nathan for a while. I can see some flack coming, but.
Well, look, okay. I thought
really.
I had to hold back. Come on, I held back. All right, the last couple of days, I actually had to delete stuff that I knew was going to get me thrown in jail. Okay, and I'm not even going to tell you what it was, because I don't want to clue these people in. But yeah, just like the title of the show tonight, I had to bring me the head. We didn't type it. You notice in the text I say GTMTH.
Yeah, I know.
So we learn these lessons, right? But you all know what that means.
I felt this coming for 3 or 4 days now, and so I'm not going to say much, because you covered it all. I could not believe what I was reading, and then it all clicked. It just all clicked, Well,
she likes a good fight, so she's
got. She didn't like Aleister Crowley, and I was always suspicious about Barbara Bush's death. And it's always the women behind these guys. I think the most of the men are the face on the milk carton.
Let's not get into the gender stuff, but for me it's a major weakness, okay? Because she does seem to, sure, she's got all sorts of legitimate skills and all this stuff, but she's tied to, and I did say that we were going to talk about her weaknesses, and that is it, because she's tied to the Lilith thing, and that means she's going to come with all that baggage. So she's probably got a bunch of. Now she's got those beautiful daughters. It's like, oh my God, if she looks any, Vladimir Putin says she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Well, if you look at these women on the top of that Wetton group, oh my God, they're all supermodels.
The first link I clicked on, and it's going Lady Queen, and I'm sitting there going, I hadn't read into it hardly at all, and I go, you know what? Lilith's name is going to come up in this story.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't come up, but we know it's there. And when you think the Elizabeth, right?
Oh, come on.
Liz, her name was sort of tweaked, a little aberration of Elizabeth, but we know it's closer to Lilith.
Yeah.
Yep. Baby Lilith. Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, I didn't know specifically, but as I began to read it right off, I go, why do I know I'm going to hear that name? In a reference. So, yeah.
All right, RD. Come on. Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay, we got down to you and Bob here. I just got to say, if anybody wants to join us, because I know we do have some listeners who wants to say anything besides RD here. RD, by the way, Gabriel has definitely said he's going to be out here by the end of January, last week of January. So, dude, I need your green light, because we want to get a mattress for you, okay?
I'm getting enough. Well, right now the holdup is weather. Once the weather gets,
Don't give you that weather shit, man. Come on.
oh,
Take a
really?
bus, train.
The roads are getting closed down too at times. So, and it'll give me time to wrap things up. Yeah, I think I can still make it by then.
Okay, well,
It's really
all these people.
it's really the road conditions now and a couple, but that.
All right, I'll just say one thing about the roads in Oregon. I don't know if in your particular neck of the woods, but first of all, if you're a motorcycle rider, you're asking for death because they get that black ice.
Oh yeah.
And they get the gravel build up and the debris from the trucks, the logging trucks, what have you.
It's only 2 locations. It's
What do you mean only 2 locations? Every damn curve was.
No. I mean, as far as what I'm watching is the summit and the Dunsmuir area. I mean,
What, for people dying on motorcycles?
no, for a road block.
Oh, I'm talking about just in general. And the other thing about Oregon is it's one of the places in the world where they will misspell street signs.
Oh my God! Let's not go there.
They do that. They'll actually misspell street signs. I mean, you live there. Give me some examples of a typical street sign that might be misspelled.
I can't come up to.
Come on, man. Do it. You live there, so it sounds more real if you say it. People aren't going to believe me.
I can't think of one right offhand.
Okay. All right. Well, it seemed like next detour, they'll spell detour wrong or something like that.
Oh, I have seen detour misspelled. Yes.
Yeah. They'll spell detour wrong.
And you shake your head because you understood and drove by and got.
Yeah. You go, what?
No, you didn't even go what. You knew what it meant, and you're just there going, "Oh, I've been here too long," you know.
You kind of take it for granted, but yeah, that's the only place I've ever seen that before was in Oregon, and I don't get around that much.
Yeah, the only reason I wanted to get in on it because, like I said, the way manifestations work, and I feel like it comes from down higher number to lower number. So I had a really good feeling we're starting to see here in the 3D, like some of the things you mentioned are probably in or done.
Yeah. Well, I think to expand what you're trying to say is that this is something I've noticed too, is that our manifestation is becoming very, very strong. And ultimately, especially when you're dealing with entities like these people and their group and their power, it's a matter of, it's like her and Aleister Crowley get together and it's a war of magicians, or a sorcery contest. That's what it's going to be here. But wait, I'm not done, man. Don't talk over me. The thing is that they do it too. We always talk about how the Illuminati will warn us and they'll say something. It's because they have to say something in advance because that's part of the manifestation process by putting it out there, saying it's going to happen, and it happens. We do the same thing. It's just like tonight when I say we're going to go after this woman, we're going to destroy her, and all our Jedis are going to do it. That is a manifestation. That is I will make a proclamation and a prophecy that will override anything that she's got going on. The more of us that are listening, that get this in our heads that this is going to happen, the more written in stone it will be, because it will become part of reality. Because if there's more of us that are better at this, we can change the mass perceived perception of reality, and we can alter whatever she's doing to change reality and manipulate other people. And certainly, as a Jedi, we should be able to be impervious to whatever bullshit they could possibly throw at us. So this is going to be a lot of fun, because I don't think they're used to dealing with anybody of any significance in that realm. So this is what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I can tell you is the past couple nights, activity significantly increased.
Yeah, it has been. It has
and
been.
Those two
not
were,
just the past couple nights.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been a little, but for me, and those 2 damn words that keep popping up: access denied, no vacancy. I don't feel as bad on our side, but I have no clue what it means.
Well, I don't know. But yeah, the perimeter stuff, though. And then let me just say this as far as the physical Getty operation is going on. One of the things that happened as a result of somebody in my group that was paying attention, they got a ding on a house that was almost directly online access of the cactus garden, which has a linear approach. And if you go down the hill directly beneath it, there's this one house. And for whatever reason, this person got a hit on this house and said they thought there was something going on out there, like a hit. Not the biggest house in town, but this is Bel Air, of course. But they got a hit. And I looked at it, and yes, indeed, it does back up to the property, and it may have actual pathways and stuff. But this prompted me to take a hard look at the landscaping and entryways all around the entire perimeter of the Getty, and I found a lot of very interesting things. I've taken these notes and made the pictures and with the graphics and the words and what have you. And I'm hoping that's going to have a significant impact on the population looking at these things, as well as the people who are trying to defend this stuff. But for instance, on the back side of the Getty, there's at least 2 gates, which are not for trucks and what have you, but security staff and that sort of thing. And they're very insignificant looking, but one of them would appear as it goes off to have a possible tunnel entrance, because we see something that looks like a concrete abutment up against a relatively steep little section, the sort of thing you might see where a doorway or a passageway was going into the side of the hill. And of course, this was at a much lower level than the Getty, which is quite a bit higher. So that's very significant. The other thing that's significant is that I never really paid attention, but there is a freeway level wing of the Getty, south wing, I think they call it, which is at the freeway level, which is sort of a entryway to a small road which goes up the hill into the guarded area where the ventilation system is. So obviously this building down there, even though it's way at the bottom of the hill at the freeway level, probably has a tunnel leading directly to the undergrounds at the center. So there's an entrance right there. So there's a potential entrance at the northwest rear entry, just off that little road right there. There's another one that we think is probably in that building right there, right off of the freeway. And also, if you look at the CIA compound, which is visible from the garden, if you look roughly southwest, there is a small road that goes up to it. The access to that place originates from a street in Bel Air, a nondescript gate in a street in Bel Air. And as you're driving up there, you'll notice there's a V-shaped hedge-looking formation pointing out towards the city. Now, if you know anything about military and defilage, you know what I'm talking, right? Right, RD?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what defilage is, right?
I've seen all that.
Uh-huh. Well, anyway, there's a suspicious-looking turnout, and it looks like a scenic view observation. The only thing is it's got like a thing that looks like a hedge. It's at least 4 feet thick by 4 feet tall. And I'm thinking, what's underneath that? What is that really? That is a damn gun position just below the CIA thing, and it's conveniently overlooking the city just below the big turret. So if you look closer, you can definitely see where their defensive positions are. But at the same time, and this is something that's significant, a lot of crazy things going on in my head the last few weeks, but this thing that's going on right now, though, I'm seeing more of a strategy. I'm realizing if an occupation of the Getty takes place from a local standpoint, yeah, sure, it's not just the front gate, it's all the gates. All the gates.
I always assumed from your first photographs and how it's high on a hill, okay, and how much we've talked about it, I've looked at it on Google Earth quite a bit. Yeah, I always assumed all those roads down to the lower level. Easiest thing in the world to do.
I found a house in Bel Air, just one street level below the Getty in the backside. And when I was looking at Google Earth, I noticed that it was a recent construction, because from one view it wasn't there and another view it was there. But when you looked at it, the first thing I noticed is the architecture was strangely reminiscent of Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. I'm like, oh, with the towers and the windows and observation posts. It had guard towers and observation towers. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Obvious. It looks kind of obvious what these guys are, they're going to station all their perimeter troops all over the place. And you could tell there was something that, because the thing is, I was looking for houses that had the closest, easiest access to the backside of the Getty. In other words, dirt up against the wall, so to speak. And so, in other words, if I wanted to get the best view, or if I wanted to commandeer someone's home in order to storm the hillside, which home would I choose? And sure enough, the home that looked the best for that purpose looks like it's also a fortress.
Well, didn't they have some fires so they could rebuild some new homes in that area here not too long ago?
Yeah, but it's still a fortress, okay? Come on, when you see a fortress in Bel Air. A fortress in Bel Air sort of stands out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like I said, I got a feeling somebody's paying attention to their perimeter a little more than they used to.
Of course they're paying attention to it more than we did. They're expanding their perimeter. That's what's happening. Their perimeter is expanding. Their perimeter defenses are starting to expand into the outer reaches. And it's like this house here. They obviously just built that to secure that street, because if you look at the fence around the house, it's not like your average fence around some millionaire's house. It looks like something out of a futuristic prison. Well, it looks like something out of Tel Aviv, okay? Yeah. You know what I mean? Out of the West Bank.
And then
seriously,
you pointed out the other thing too is anytime it looks like there's a cut into the hillside, I've seen homes up here where they cut out a notch in the hillside and the top floor is still up against the back of the hill, so to speak. But maybe not.
It leads me to believe that more of these houses are connected than even we can imagine. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've seen a couple of those things you're talking about, and it looks like looks like a racquetball court of cement, but the cement's not there. There's a house kind of, I don't know. What you really got to look for is garages. So you drive into a garage and it actually takes you into the side of the hill. The wall behind the garage opens up and goes into the hill, that kind of thing. That's what I mean. It's cut into the hill. You think it's just a garage, and who knows what. It goes. Yeah, you just drive-in service. Ugh. All right, how much time we got? Oh, look at that. We're down to only 12 minutes or so. Somebody wants to say something.
Are we going to go visit when you come in? RT, you want to go to the Getty?
Yeah, Bob, you worry about getting your ass over here, dude. Come on.
Why don't we go to the Getty?
Why don't we'll do a practice run where you have to actually get your butt over here.
Okay. I have to get. You'll just text me or something, directions. And
you'll know because once RD commits, I already told you it's going to be the last week of
January.
And then, of course, if it's on a Thursday and he's out here, we're going to do a show, then you know for sure that's when you want to be here.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? I got dual microphones I'm running right now. So I go, hello.
I don't know. Something happened where you're really sounding very clear. Very, very clear and strong.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm constantly having to mess with this nonsense all the time with my gains and what have you. But like I said, I'm running two microphones side by side. This is number one. This is number two. Can you tell the difference?
Listen, what you described and informed me about, okay, this is exactly why there's been wars throughout humanity.
Oh, yeah.
It's the loosh. It's all about the loosh.
Well, and hey, you know what? Look at Mountbatten, though. Who knew Mountbatten was so evil?
And there's a lot of evil people, but I think...
Yeah, she took over from him.
I thought everybody knew he was.
Well, I mean, I never knew he was that bad. I had no idea that this thing even existed, this hierarchy system like this.
Well, yeah. Well, you described it. I knew it was there, but you filled in the blanks.
Well, now we know.
Come on.
And the funny thing is we've got an ego to deal with now. We've got a single female ego to deal with on the very top of the pyramid to go after now. Isn't that something?
Yeah, and guess what? If we ever meet her, we're going to fucking fall in love.
Look at Bob. You would, I'm sure, but come on, no doubt. I'll
Oh
bet you anything.
boy.
Well, I've
Oh,
already thought about
boy.
that. Let's see, she's going to be 67 years
Hey,
old. What do you think about that?
that's young stuff to me. No, I'm
That's young stuff
68.
to you. Come on.
I'm 61 years younger. Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, we're in the same generation.
I'm sure she's incredibly beautiful, but bathing in baby blood and consuming, adrenochrome and stuff probably keeps you looking really good.
No, I thought it makes you look horrible. Look what
Apparently
happened to
not.
Hillary.
She's her supply dried up. They took it away from her.
Oh, Hillary's. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Man, you're pretty clever.
oh, look at you. All right, enough of that kiss ass here stuff. We're down.
Congratulations.
All right, let me just say this. I want to remind people, to send us money. Oh, let me see. How can I play? It's a little psychological. No, that's tacky. I retract that. Let me focus on the threat. Again, this is really all for the Jedi's benefit, but I do want to reach out because there's so many people that listen to these things, and Jedi people who will follow this stuff. I don't always hear from them. We all go out and do our thing, and we don't always talk about it. But in this particular situation, those of you that do the surveillance, like, the ones that have been looking into the Queen and Washington, D.C. and stuff like that for me, if you could follow up on her and let's learn a little bit more about Belgium and this organization. I want to know a little more about her weaknesses and what she does, what she thinks is her power. And again, don't worry about whatever demons and crap she keeps around, because I know those of you that have done this know that eventually it shows that they're really nothing. They're all the same. So now's the time to be extra strong, and don't hesitate to execute, if you will. Okay, we do a lot of observation, but if you have any opportunity to destroy, and not just entities, but support structures, loose gathering, anything whatsoever, destroy it, report on it, share it, and taunt. We really want to taunt these things, okay? Because it would be nice if they would give up, although the woman like this Somerset bitch, I don't really see her getting a pass in this situation. I mean, like Bob says, yeah, I'm sure she's beautiful and all that, beautiful, but she may be the human equivalent of Lilith, and perhaps that may require some special treatment, but as it is right now, she's still our number one target, and obviously she's ruthless and capable of deceit and manipulation. So this is why you don't observe and try to communicate and have any sort of dialogue whatsoever. If you have the opportunity to hurt and destroy, you take advantage of it. And this is where we're at right now. And let's just be thankful that fate has delivered her into our hands. Thank you for all the curious. And I don't think this is an accident. I think that it's like you said, RD. The name just came out, and the very fact that people are talking about her means that her energy is coming into the consciousness, and as more of us become aware of her, we'll have more ability to snuff her out and alter her reality, and we'll also be able to correct the damages that she's had. And most importantly, by taking out their number one champion, we cripple the entire organization. And it's not like blowing up Mountbatten, because we're going to do it on the 4D. So if we can drive this bitch crazy and say make her kill herself, then we're doing a good job. So I think for her, we may need to have her stand up on the top of the tower, shoot herself in the head as she falls, or cause herself to fall, huh? So we'll have her jump and shoot herself. Does that sound good? So those of you that are into that sort of thing, you have my permission. Okay? All right, we got 5 minutes, so I'm just going to let you guys do a little sign off. Too bad Diane can't get in here anymore. She's just got to get that silly Skype so she can give us her absolution. I'd ask Bob for an absolution, but I don't want it in Hebrew.
No,
Did you learn any good Hebrew prayers? What's going on, Bob?
No, I could do it. I know the Ana Bacoa, which is supposedly the most powerful prayer there is. You know, Jesus did study with the Kabbalah with the Essenes. Okay, he was a different person after he studied.
Well, you know, but he also studied under the Buddhism and all these other.
Oh yeah.
Too.
But
right.
you know, it's so weird. It's so weird. But
well, all right. Let me just
thing...
say this, but I don't want to. You know, obviously, I don't want to dwell on this because, again, we always have to emphasize how this is not an attack on the 99%. It's just an attack on that 1% that's corrupting everything. Of course,
it might be 3 or 4%. I don't know.
Well, maybe 2%. Come on.
Yeah, but it's there.
Oh,
but anyways.
Okay. All right, but no, I just want to say this.
We haven't even said anything about the impeachment. There you go.
Fuck the impeachment shit. Okay, Trump, his big thing right now is that the Ukraine stuff looks really bad, and yet at the same time, people have to realize that the whole Ukraine business is criminal, so it's ridiculous that anyone would even think that it was anything more than that. But Petrov, or whatever his name is, the ambassador. But I just want to say this, the fact that Trump has joined Chabad is becoming mainstream. It's coming out. And David Goldberg, when he got a little overzealous and he leaked that information early, you know, look what they did. They killed him. But the very same source, which is David Goldberg, is the same source that's going to be referenced when people start talking about this conversion having taken place. Because the information is coming out of like Israel Times and sources like this. And the point is that it's very highly believable that Trump made the decision to not tell anybody until after some time in the future because he was afraid he was going to alienate his evangelical Christian base. And the point is that this evangelical Christian base, these are the people that are what we call the Zio Christians that think that the Arabs all have to die and Israel, all these things have to happen when the Antichrist have to come back and all this horrible crap has to happen in order for Jesus to return. Of course, we know that's BS, but the point is that there's a significant lunatic fringe of the Christian faith that believes this stuff, and unfortunately, guys like Pompeo and the rest of them that are doing this stuff, who's the other one? Barr and Bolton and guys like that. These are the ones telling Trump what to do. So it's really disconcerting that he would try to get reelected and then create all this, pro-Armageddon policy, and at the same time withhold the fact that he converted from whatever it was, Presbyterian to Chabad, and then chose to keep it secret while at the same time lying to his base that this did not happen. So this is going to bring out the big disillusionment, and the big disillusionment is the last step before the return of the Antichrist, and we know now that even the Chabad is expecting Kushner to be the Antichrist. So I do expect that they're going to try to execute Trump. You know, I mean, look at what he said about this Belanov girl. They're great deals, really great deals. My God, he of all the world leaders and people who spoke about this woman, he sounded like the biggest idiot, huh?
Oh man, he probably has a crush on her.
Of course he wanted to screw her, but he probably wasn't smart enough to realize that she would crush his ass in a second if he even looked at her wrong. You know, my God, she probably has so little respect for him. He's the total epitome of what she's talking about when she says these people that only acquired their wealth in, one generation.
Right. Oh,
look where he got his wealth. Yeah,
she's the friggin' real deal.
I mean, come on.
Oh my God.
Granddaughter of Rasputin. Holy crap. Those are some credentials. And on and on. And then, of course, like we said, their lineage is so damn
powerful,
intermixed. No, I mean, it's incestuous. All these guys, these different kingdoms are, they're marrying off each other, all these princes and what have you, to keep it all in the family. And of course, there's a reason for that, but again, I'm going to enjoy taking whatever throne she has, whatever power she has, and flaunting the fact that I can do that in front of all of her feeble followers that are in such fear of her. So it's going to be fun, huh, RD?
Yeah, I know the Rasputin story from years ago, but
Yeah, we don't have time for that. Just say
no,
yes,
I'm not
it's going to be fun.
yeah, like you said, maybe her ego is so big that she wants a greater reputation than her ancestor Rasputin, and she'll do
Nah,
that. She'll do
I
that
don't.
herself.
I don't care. It doesn't matter at this point. I mean, we got the
Yeah.
history. All we need is enough information to find her. We know what she thinks. We've already cast judgment on her.
I
That's
think we've
it.
done it. We've done it.
Yeah. So it's like she's our target now. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not. We're not giving up on the Getty, but we're going to be putting a lot of energy into her face. And even though we've only got a photo of her from the 1980s, who cares? It don't matter. we'll hook up to her.
Let it be done.
Let it be done as it is. All right, let's get out of here. Let me first get rid of Bob. I'm going to see you later,
Okay.
Bob.
Thanks.
All right, out of here. All right, RD, get out of here. I'll talk to you later. I'm going to first of all make sure I had my buttons lined up. Excuse me. All right. Anyway, like I said, I hope you did enjoy the show. This is Truth Cat Radio. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show, www.truthcatradio.com. It is now 9:02 p.m., January 16th, 2020. And the title of tonight's show was Bring Me the Head of Somerset Belikov. All right. So you guys have got your task. Get out there and do it. With that, I'm going to let y'all go. I'll see you next week. Good night. God bless. Adios. And goodbye.